Hey, yo, tribe.
What's up? Welcome to the Disconnect Podcast. I am Eyebee and this is my co-host.
Jay Know the Sun King.
Jay Know the Sun King. Yes, sir. Man,
we finna change gears on y'all for a minute. You know what I mean? We talk about different things, but we finna really just, hit something that's home and just, that's
something a little more serious.
A little more serious, yes, indeed. But before we do that, let's definitely want to give a shout out to Wildlife Vodka.
Voila.
The sponsor. If you drink it, make sure you drinking responsibly. You feel me?
Absolutely.
So, but yeah. So
we here to talk about. We have a guest today. You want to introduce yourself?
For sure. How y'all doing? I'm True Francisco from Houston, Texas, Eagles home. What's up?
We happy to have you on the show. So we're gonna talk about some very touchy issues. That's probably really a touchy topic in your life. It's been a touchy topic in my life. A touchy subject in your life. A lot of us. So we're gonna just get all into it. We're gonna give the history of it all. Let's talk about the crack cocaine era. Can I even say crack cocaine?
Crack. I mean,
that's
like cocaine, but then
but because it's like two different things, right? Yeah. But we're gonna talk about these 80s, right?
Right, from the 80s to the 90s.
From the 80s to it's still kind of going on right now.
Right, it's still
that was
going
the peak
on
of it.
Right, exactly. So the 80s, so the crack era hit in the 80s, and when it hit, it was like a party drug. That's what I hear everybody talk about. Everybody that I talk about. The crack, or everybody I talked to that had a history of doing it, they all talked about it, and they said it was a party drug. And somebody that I talked to that was personal, on the personal aspect about it, was kind of talking about how strong it was back then. Mm-hmm. Like, people would smoke it like they would smoke weed. Yeah. Like marijuana. And the high would last for like a longer period of time.
With the crack high or
the crack?
The crack high.
Okay.
The crack high. Well, it started off as like with cocaine, right? So it started off with cocaine, people putting it in their nose. It started off in the white communities with the cocaine. Mm-hmm. And that's how that's how it started. Yeah, like it started out there. But when they started distributing it to the black communities, of course it was stumped down with baking soda and a couple other things.
Right.
And that's when it started. But people didn't know it was more like a party drug. So when they would hit it, it would get them high for a longer period of time until they start stomping it down, trying to stretch it.
Yeah. Okay.
It was more pure back then.
It was more pure.
That's what I was getting at, because I was, from my understanding, that it was the high was a shorter high. And that was the whole point of it, but the addiction was way up there.
Right.
So that way they'll keep coming,
right.
because the high wouldn't last long enough.
But when it first came, that high was lasting long, because the person that I spoke to, they say they used to be high like you would smoke weed. Like the high would last for a good amount of time. So they started stomping it down with all these different substances because they wanted to stretch it.
Supply and demand. Make you come back quicker.
Right.
If it's last of a whole day, why not break it down to 6 hours? The way you get to come back and you buy from me twice in one day instead of once.
Exactly. Right. Exactly. So it's a lot of people that had a whole career in selling crack cocaine.
Oh yeah, for sure.
So what's his name? Rick Ross.
Rick Ross, right? Most definitely.
That's one of them. Yeah. That's one of them. He had a whole career from the 1982 to 89. 1982.
The real Rick Ross.
The real Rick Ross.
Yeah, not the
no, not.
Yeah, no.
Not that guy. Not that guy.
No, not him.
Not that guy. The real Rick Ross. Yeah. And around that time, there was President Reagan was in office from 1980 to 1989. He had two.
He was the president during the whole, basically the highlight and peak of the crack era.
The whole time.
He was.
The whole time. So his career pretty much ran concurrent with Rick Ross.
Yep.
Ain't that something? That's crazy.
It is crazy.
Who was after him? Bush, right?
The H. Bush, the dad.
Yeah.
The dad.
90s, would have been Bush, definitely.
Okay.
They was trying to get Reagan out at one point.
And so Bush is the one. He the one was throwing the book at people.
Yeah.
He was throwing that book at people because what they say
between Bush and Clinton, they was calling them super predators. It may have been a little bit after they started calling black people super predators, basically.
Wow.
So it was just trying to ramp up the charges and stuff like that. Yeah.
That's crazy.
Because what they say, you get 5 years for 500.
5 grams.
For 500 grams of cocaine.
Oh, cocaine. Yeah.
But then you get 5 years for 5 grams of crack.
That's crazy.
Think about that, y'all. So look, tribe. Think about this here. A gram ain't nothing but about this big. So, well, I know a gram of weed is about this big.
Right.
And like I said, so crack is probably more heavy and more dense. So that gram is probably even way smaller than that. It's literally like a rock. Like they said, like a little bitty rock.
Like a hard rock.
And you getting a year just per rock.
Right.
So think about that. So if you're an average hustler, you need more than just 1 gram.
Right.
You're gonna have at least you're a real hustler. You're gonna have at least I ain't gonna say real hustler, but
couple cookies.
Right.
If you're a big time hustler, you're not a small time. You moving big weight. You're gonna have way more.
Yeah. So let's even take it to small time hustler. If you want to try to distribute about a pound of it, that's 28 grams.
Yeah.
So that's 28 years. So you getting 28 years pretty much just off a pound of it. Yeah. Now I don't know how they measure the crack,
right.
Scale, but I'm just translating it over from like weed and stuff like that. You know what I'm saying? 28 grams is a pound. Is an ounce. I'm sorry.
And they was throwing the book.
I messed up, y'all. 28 grams is an ounce. So just for 1 ounce of crack, you doing 28 years.
And how many ounces in a pound?
How many ounces? 16 ounces in a pound.
So
that's way more than it.
Yeah, you're doing over 50.
You're doing
over
50.
Yeah, and that's what they was doing. They was throwing the book. They was throwing the book. So let's break down why you got more for cocaine than you get for crack.
Man, we know why.
Why?
Because man, it was the mother people drug of choice.
That too, but also they felt like, if you're gonna take the time to mix other extra substances to make it spread and stuff, then you really took some time to do this, right? Like you really meant harms, so
your preparation,
like all of that. So they definitely like threw everything with that. So Rick Ross and Ronald Reagan, they careers ran concurrent with that. They used to call it what they call it base. Or
that's freebase, right?
Yeah.
Base, yeah.
Okay, that's why they use the term. When somebody on it, they be like, "Hey, you're a basehead."
Basehead, or crackhead.
Yeah. Fiend.
Right. So in 1987, what year you was born?
92.
92. Okay. 1987 is when they came out with this commercial. Because I was gonna ask you if you remember this commercial. They had a commercial that came out where they was frying 2 eggs in the skillet. And first they had the egg like this, and they said, "This is your brain." And then they cracked the egg open, and they put in the skillet, "This is your brain on drugs." So this is around the time where they started like kind of learning the danger of crack and what it does to you. Because remember we stated before, it was just a party drug. People was just taking it because they thought it was something cool to do. Same thing how they did with this fake weed. Right, like how they did,
all that synthetic
weed.
Folks always want to try the first thing that they put on the street for us, right? The same thing that they doing with these vapes, the same thing that they doing with this what's that other stuff that they want to always offer you? Hookah.
Yeah,
everywhere I go, I can't go nowhere in peace without, "You want hookah?" "No, ma'am, I don't want hookah."
She said that was
no, ma'am.
Hey, all the bad ones be on the hookah.
That's not. Well, you know what? Let me tell you something, baddie. In 10 years from now,
niggas gonna buy because of that.
10 years from now, they gonna say that you gonna grow a 11 toe from out the middle of your forehead. Call this number. Consult a lawyer. It's gonna be something. It's gonna be something terrible.
Because the thing, but in realness, though, I know I'm being facetious, but in realness, though, when they releasing these products and these drugs, even these medical drugs, they ain't tested it 20 years out.
No, of course not.
Why would you do that? Tested 20-some years out, because you ain't got. That's a lot of money.
That's what I'm saying.
You're gonna be spending and investing way 20 and for his research.
But Americans ain't nothing but lab rats, right? This ain't nothing but one big melting pot.
Yeah,
that's true.
Right? So everybody come here from all these different countries. To come make a living and stuff like that. And they want to have freedom. They want to have freedom of religion. They want to have freedom of sexuality, freedom of speech, all these different. So what better place to try all of this stuff out than here?
In America.
Yeah. And right here in America. So, 1987 is when they start like learning about what crack do to the body and stuff. They start having the DARE programs. I remember the DARE programs.
You know.
Growing up.
Can I mention who started the DARE program?
Who started it?
Please start.
Do y'all know? Nancy Reagan.
Get the hell out of here.
Ronald Reagan wife. Yeah.
Wow.
So
don't do that. Don't tell them the truth.
So oxymoronic.
So we finna go allegedly. Or no, we finna do a lot of allegedly.
Allegedly. Okay.
You know what I'm saying? So allegedly, they say Reagan was pushing the cocaine through the through the CIA and stuff like that. It was the war on drugs. In order to really fight the war on drugs, they had to pretty much get dirty. They had to raise money. So the CIA, the government, they wouldn't get backing So they took it upon their own hands with the CIA to raise money. And the only way to raise money was to sell the dope itself, so they can have millions to back it and fight the Contras, allegedly.
Wow.
You know, this is all allegedly, you know.
Wow.
So that's when you get your Rick Ross, allegedly, you know, that he was funded through them, you know, so he can help fight the war on drugs. But the thing with Rick Ross said, once he realized that and seen the effects of what the crack was doing to the, you know, to the masses and to the people, he backed out of it and said, "Nah, this ain't it. This ain't what it is."
So he actually said that.
He actually said that.
Yeah.
Okay.
He talked
about it in his book too. Yeah.
Okay.
His book, and when he came out, they had an exclusive interview on when like he first came out.
Sure, but by that time, so many people were influenced because they was glorifying it.
Right.
They even came out with movies like what? New Jack City. When New Jack City came out? 1991.
1991.
Everybody wanted to be like Nino Brown.
Right.
I ain't
Yeah.
gonna
That's
lie.
true.
Everybody. They was even putting the music. I even seen a documentary with who was that? Crazy Bone.
Yeah.
Where he was saying that they all came into some type of meeting and he seen these dudes pulling up, white guys with suits on, that he know doggone well was not interested in the hip hop community at all. And they pulled up and they had this meeting and they was telling people, whoever don't want to sign the confidentiality clause and to get up out of here, because the information that's going to be disclosed in this meeting will cost you your life if you open your mouth. A lot of people put their Baptist finger up. He was one of them.
Yeah.
They left out of there. But he was talking to a friend of a friend that actually stayed. You saw the documentary?
I heard of it.
Okay, so he said that the people that was in these uniforms, these older white gentlemen that was in these uniforms, was telling them that they was going to change the rap community. They needed to change the rap community. They don't want no more conscious rap. They don't want no more rap talking about black power and and uplifting the people. They want to talk about money, clothes, cars, drugs, and stuff like that. They want to bring that in because they want to fill up the prison systems.
Right.
That's what they want to do, and that's exactly what they did.
And a lot of people don't know. A lot of executives are invested into the.
They are invested. They definitely are. A lot of the vegetables and stuff that you're eating today comes from the penitentiary. Your license plates come from the penitentiary.
Say the vegetable.
Yeah,
The tires on your car come from the penitentiary.
The workers make all these.
They make all of this
stuff. Help them save money.
It helps them save money. So this is
cheap labor.
Cheap labor. Not to veer too far off of the subject, but this is a real thing. They really made a business off of slamming guys for this crack that they was finding and putting them inside of the system to make them more money and pushing it through the media and pushing it through the music in the black community. This happened. It's a real thing.
Yeah.
It's a real thing, and we suffering from it today.
What they do?
Yeah.
Take the crack and drop it off in all the hoods.
Well, practically when they gave them the coke, they pretty much fronted them the coke. Allegedly, excuse me. I forgot the allegedly.
Allegedly.
Yeah, allegedly they brought the cocaine to the hood, and basically they wasn't raising money fast enough. So they were just like, hey, like, do whatever you need to do, stretch it, do whatever, you know what I'm saying? And so that's when they seen the opportunity. So if you ever looked at Snowfall, the series Snowfall with Franklin Saint, that's actually based on Rick Ross. That's why he's in L.A. cellular, you know what I mean? So and so you see in the movie or the series that Franklin Saint basically starts investing into a business and stuff like that, in real estate and stuff like that. So because it's basically telling the story of Rick Ross in so many ways. And so if you watch that story, you see how. So he was just like, man, nah, this ain't. You know,
he was trying to get out. That's why he was doing all this type of investment.
Yeah, he was trying to get out, and then pretty much they was like, nah.
Nah, you ain't getting out. You making us too much money.
Yeah, he told pretty much what he told him. He said, ain't no way you can walk away from this.
Yeah,
you know
like people, I realize when you. I'm just speaking. Okay, I'm gonna be real. I'm speaking from a hustler standpoint. If you're a hustler and your supplier, you making so much money about them, you're not finna just let you walk away.
Right.
It's kind of like the movie, like the show Power. You ever seen Power?
No, I haven't.
Seen Power?
Yeah, but
Power. So Power is based on the main actor's name is Jamie St. Patrick, but his street name is Ghost. So he's a businessman by day, drug dealer by night, pretty much behind closed doors. Nobody knows this. So his whole time on the show, he's building clubs, different business ventures, because he wanted to get out. Only reason why he started, because basically his dad died when he was younger. He had no other way to make money, so him and his friend Tommy went to business together. Now they are grown. They've been doing it for so many years. He's trying to get out. He don't want that life no more, because he wants to be a businessman, because he know the consequence that can come if you get caught.
Right.
Now he's so good at what he does that everybody keeps trying to pull him back into the business when he's trying to get out. And he made so much money that every time he tried to get out, somebody will hold him basically by the chokehold, like, nah, you making me 2, 3, 4 million.
They're not taking them losses.
Nah, you ain't getting out, because ain't nobody as good as you.
Yeah.
Either if you want to get out, it's only 2 ways you're gonna get out: prison
or death.
Or death.
Yeah.
In the ground. So
blood in, blood out.
Blood in and blood out.
God, got to be more careful.
It's crazy.
Yeah.
That's how these labels do too with these artists. These artists think they finna leave. Like, nah, you ain't finna leave us. I ain't gonna go too much on that, but y'all know.
Yeah, it's money.
And it's leaking out. It's leaking out. Like they talking about that, right? So post crack, post crack.
Before you touch post crack, I'm not sure if did we touch on the Reagan? I mean Nancy Reagan in the Dell program.
Yeah, you said Nancy Reagan did the program, but you could expound on it.
Yeah, you ain't go.
You ain't expound on it though.
So Nancy. Well, all I was gonna say is Nancy Reagan pretty much created the program. So allegedly, while they was trying to prevent the war on drugs, you know what I mean, it was like a two-way thing, and that she was pretty much, it was basically playing good cop, bad cop.
Right.
That's basically what was going allegedly what was going on, you know. So to keep their hands clean of everything, it was just like, no, look, we're fighting the war on drugs. We're fighting, you know, we're campaigning this. We're going to end this. We're going to stop this. But at the same time, on the low, allegedly the husband was still pushing it, and you know what I mean, and getting it out.
Oxymoron.
Right. You know what I'm saying? So that's all I wanted to add. I didn't know if I added that.
That's crazy though. But even just to touch on it, it's like, oh, you gonna be the person that caused a problem, and you gonna be the hero.
Right.
Everybody say play good cop, bad cop.
That's crazy.
Yep.
That's crazy. And this happens not only with crack, but this happens like in so many other topics.
In life.
Even
if you think of something like, and I hate to go off subject, say like this touchy subject, like a physical abuser.
Right.
He'll abuse you.
Right.
And then go back and say, see, if you wouldn't have did that, then it wouldn't have made me angry enough to try to play good guy back, like justified.
What
like,
they call it? Gaslighting.
Gaslighting, yeah.
Gaslighting.
Like, pick a side, bro. What are you talking about?
Yeah. That's true. Well, I'm glad that, you know, we waking up from this. What a wonderful time to be alive. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
what a wonderful time to be black. You know, like I'm proud to be, you know, who I am. Like,
are you proud to be an American?
I'm proud to be an indigenous
American.
Are you American or are you just a black man in America?
I'm indigenous.
Yeah.
You just crack jokes about me off camera because I had to cut my hair. Straight them off. You know what I'm saying? I'm just saying.
That's a whole other story. You know, like whether it's like, are you American or are you indigenous?
Mm-hmm.
Or are you African?
Are you black?
Are you black?
Mm-hmm. Cool. You know, this seems to be a discourse between Africans and black people as far as the way they describe themselves.
Right.
So you go to somebody, you say something like, say if somebody's American and they're black, you go to them and you call them African, they go, man, I'm black. Because they feel like the culture is different from a black American and somebody who's from Africa.
It is different, though.
It is.
It's a lot different because I'm going to tell you something. I have never, ever. I'm
sorry, Ms. Jackson.
Walked into the. I have never walked into a mall, a grocery store, nothing like that, and seen an African person and mistook them for one of us. You know the difference.
You can definitely tell the difference.
You can tell the difference. Like it's
we can tell the difference, but to a certain race, it ain't no different.
White people, other races and stuff like that, they can't tell the difference. But we can tell the difference in and it's not to say that I'm against African people. I'm not saying that, but I think that when they talked about it was 12 tribes of Judah. When they talked about it was different, you know. But not to get too much off a topic, but hey man, it's alligators and crocodiles. That's all I gotta say. It's toads and frogs. Like it's
different.
We different.
Yeah,
we different. We definitely different.
Shout out to the African community though.
Shout out to the African community. Shout out to y'all. So post crack era. Let's talk about some of these results that we was left to live with as children, as mothers, as sisters, brothers, cousins. Mm-hmm. Some of the stuff that we still dealing with, some of us today. Let's talk about post crack era, like what we going through, like what it left us with, you know. Okay. Just sharing my experience, you know. It's been tough. It's been tough dealing with that, dealing with like a family member that fell victim to it. And it probably started off as this, and you watch a person, you really could literally watch a person transition from this all the way into this, and you could see how promising their future probably was, how great they probably was, how people loved them, how they interacted with people, all of that, and you could just see all this just kind of just disintegrate like right before your eyes. And then you have to deal with the guilt that they're feeling. You have to deal with the resentment that they feel within themselves and stuff, because I'm pretty sure these people, these same people. Let's talk about the person that suffer with it, right? Just even on the inside, these are the same people. They looked around at some point in their addiction and they saw their peers, just surpassing them.
Yeah.
They saw their children. They looked around. They seen their kids was grown up, and probably was looking at them like a whole lot different. And they were just in this time zone, kind of like just stuck in this time capsule, to where time just got away from them. So now all of a sudden you got up, you woke up, and now it's the 80s is gone, the 90s is gone. Now you stuck in the 2000s, So let's talk about that. That was annoying.
Nah, it's all good. Much better.
Before y'all dive in, because I feel like y'all stories are way more. It's there right in your face.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Right.
Opposed to, I still feel like a person that will be speaking outside looking in. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Even though the experience was still within family,
mm-hmm.
it's still, I can't say to be in the household what that felt like. You know what I mean? In that type of way.
Yeah.
All I can speak of is that, like you say, you see somebody that's great, that's that's thriving.
Yeah.
I remember just kind of always going to play basketball every Saturday, every weekend. It'd be me, my pops, my uncle, and my other uncles. I was like the little bitty, they was all grown. And we just go hooping. They be like, "Look, nephew, just run circles around them. Keep using your speed." And so many good times, laughing and joking, and at the same time, it was physical too. It was a just manhood. You just being around the elders and you know what I'm saying, and you get that, you know what I mean, and
that love,
you know what I mean, and you used to see them all the time, just kind of just joking all the time, wrestling, all that stuff like that, and just always working out, and stuff like that, and just so it really pushed me honestly to be in sports. It inspired me to be in sports.
Yeah.
So I ended up playing football, running track, to be athletic and to move in that space. And from there, it pushed me to get a scholarship in track.
Yeah.
You know what I mean, and get a business degree. You know what I'm saying. So it was inspiring. You know what I'm saying. But then the flip side of it, like you said, once it hit and once it took toll, you see a whole different person.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Those memories are still there. Just like, look, nephew, I'm getting swole. You know what I'm saying? Stuff like that. But then to see, or hear stories of, living under bridges and going, and just really just changing, it's major. So
and even with the process of getting to that point, it's the whole, man, it's the whole waking up in the morning and thinking you about to go open some Christmas presents, and all your Christmas presents say, "Find me." They not there. All the other kids opening their Christmas presents, they got this for Christmas, they got that for Christmas, but all your Christmas presents is saying, "Find me." Yeah. Like stuff like that. This is the stuff that gets swept under the rug and it don't get talked about.
Right.
A lot of family members, when they come in town to come celebrate Christmas, is shh, we not talking about that. Now we ain't gonna talk about that. We gonna cover it up. So what happens to the kids that's suffering with that? You gotta suffer in silence.
Yeah.
Because you're not allowed to talk about this, or you're not allowed to talk about that. But when it really starts surfacing, because eventually it takes a toll on that person's physical appearance.
Right.
Then it's like, okay, well, what's going on? So it is. Before it get to that point, before it get to living under the bridge, it's the family members that tried to reach out, they tried to help, and this person, this sickness is so strong, it just takes over them to where they don't even know how to reach out and accept the help when you're reaching out to them. Yeah. They hurting everybody.
Yeah.
That's trying to help them.
Yeah.
And then it gets to a point to where you just gotta, you gotta save yourself. Sometimes you gotta, and that's like the emotional.
I can imagine that's probably the hardest part.
That's the hardest part. So this is me just summing it up. I'm just really being above the surface. You know, I would like to go deeper than that. You know.
Please do.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Yeah, because it's hey, man. It's one of them things. It ain't funny, man. Like, it's like you gotta, I'm laughing to keep from crying. You gotta laugh to keep from crying, like, sometimes. So
let's before you go in, let's part 2 that.
Okay, definitely part 2. Definitely part 2.
We finna really, really take a deep dive into it.
Absolutely,
you know
absolutely. So, y'all tune back in.
Before we tap out though, send them your IG, any information, stuff like that, where people can look you up and information and stuff like that.
Oh yeah, you can follow me on all social medias at Truth Francisco, TruthFrancisco. I got music on Spotify, iTunes, and 100 digital stores. And when you go to my YouTube, because they have 2 different YouTubes from me, but my personal YouTube is the one with you'll see me. You can put in Truth Francisco, it'll be me in all black with a white background. And you can find all my music right there too, as well as the links for any song that you might be looking for. And that's pretty much it.
Most definitely. Yes, so yeah, if y'all make sure you follow the Disconnect Podcast at the Disconnect Podcast on TikTok and on Facebook, on IG and YouTube. It's at the Disconnect Podcast _. Yeah, I know we ended on a different note, y'all, this time. We normally ride it as we passing up, but we know this is a very serious subject. We're gonna, like I said, we're gonna part 2 and get back to it. We thank y'all for tuning in. We are the podcast that heals and builds.
Absolutely.
Peace.
I have learned to piece together pieces that you broke. I can see through all of the deceitful things you wrote. I have managed cracking all the secrets to the codes. You swerved into my lane like you were sleeping on the road. Said we weren't indigenous and brought us here as slaves. Wrote yourself in her story and tore us out the page. Trying to cover up that you're the one that's out of place. Then wonder why my people wildin' out and in the rage. Bitch, you lied, we've been certified. My ancestors own this shit, I know that hurt your pride. I'm witnessing truth and lies unfold before my eyes. Present in the flesh, oh what a time to be alive. Understand that white folks not our only enemies. We got those against us that still look like you and me. Just because you talk that talk don't mean you're fooling me. Cause I don't need a savior long as I stay true to me.